In studio, and our panel are still on standby here. Now, Dismiss, let's resume our discussion concerning our own election, which is yet to be resolved. And there are those who are saying that if NASA want to invalidate this particular election, they should not focus more on whether the system has been hacked into or not, or rather they should focus on whether these results which are on Form 34 and B have been interfered with.
Yes, but before I answer that, allow me to just respond to two issues, one raised by Bichachi and Amunga. There's something curious about the Rwanda election, that President Kagame got 98% of the ballots cast.
Yes.
That's very curious. Now, what is curious in the Kenyan election is that when the results were being announced, the constituency returning officers in public announced winners of all the 5 elections for governor, for Senate, MP, MCA, women rep, in public,
yes.
And it was captured by the media. So the curious thing is, how come the presidential election was not captured by the media? Did the constituency returning officers actually make public? In as much as the Bichache says that in the strict application of the law, you must not say it in public, but how come that it's only the presidential election which was not captured public? Maybe that's something that people need to mull over.
Huh?
Yeah, then number 2, if IBC is carrying a free, fair, and credible elections, in a strict sense of the law, you do not even need an agent. The reason why people say you need an agent is to secure your vote. And when you say you want to secure your vote, it's assumed you want to secure it from somebody who wants to steal it. So it's not a must that you must have your agents there, but it's just a good practice to have your agents there. Otherwise, IBC is supposed to run an election which is free, fair, and credible, which can test the stand of any forms of integrity with or without having the agents present. Now, when you come to the issue you talk about hacking, it's an issue that you cannot wish away. And the burden is now on NASA for them to actually demonstrate that, in fact, there was hacking. And the hacking had the ability, or rather the hacking compromised the quality of the election. If you're able to prove that, then you've got a very strong case. And which is where at this stage I'd like to give NASA free advice, that they need to get the benefit of forensic ICT auditors or experts. And maybe one of their first applications or prayers, if they haven't gone to the High Court today, or maybe as soon as the case begins at the Supreme Court, is for them to ask the Supreme Court to give IBC orders for them to do that forensic audit, which should be led by an independent person. But of course, all other stakeholders should be around. And in my view, a good example would be like, to use the example, when you're doing a post-mortem, if you suspect a mischief, as a family, while the government pathologist is doing a post-mortem, any other stakeholder is invited to send in a pathologist. So that would be something that they need to look at. And as in my view, this is so important, so that we have those very solid systems today. When we get to the elections of 2022, when IBC pronounces candidate A winner, everybody goes home knowing that, in fact, candidate A has won, and that there's nobody has played around with the numbers.
Yeah, Peter.
Yeah, of course, I'll differ with Dismas in several things he has said. One, the announcement is not for the presidential vote. It's actually supposed to be done at the polling station, not at the constituency level. And according to the law and according to what was ruled, is that is the polling, and we have over 44,000. We had over 44,000 polling stations. I don't expect that we could have had TV cameras in all those 44,000 polling stations to be airing live as they announce the winner of the presidential candidate. I think what I heard was that they will send them to bombers,
yes.
And they'll also post the results on the doors of each and every polling station that participated in this election. But also, again, to talk about just what he has talked about, it's important that we realize that as much as we talk about hacking, this election, as much as it was digital, it also had some manual part of it.
Yeah.
The Form 34As and Bs we are talking about, they are actually manual. They were delivered. They are supposed to be delivered. And that's why I'm differing with a lot with some of the points being given out there with the non-governmental organizations when they talk about differences in those tallies.
Yes.
For example, when we talk about, they are using their argument, they are basing their argument on the portal given by the IEBC. But they are forgetting that we also had Form 34As and 34Bs that were also delivered manually to bombers of Kenya. So they need to tell us, are they basing their facts or their argument on that portal? And the official official tally, as Mark Bichachi said, comes from the Form 34 A's and B's.
Of course, IEBC are already on record saying that they don't have all the Form 34 A's. Now, Mark, as you react to whatever Peter said and dismiss, let's say hypothetically that, NASA wins this case and we go for a general election. They don't even have control of the National Assembly. They don't have control over the number of governors, the women reps. They've been beaten on all circles.
Well, if the scenario does occur where we go to an election in 60 days after the High Court, the Supreme Court overturns the election of a president, then what if NASA then wins that election? There would be a minority government. It would be a government that has minority in both houses and in the Council of Governors, and it would be a tricky situation for them to implement their agenda, especially the agenda that including certain principles in certain offices. It would be hard for them to pass those things in Parliament if that scenario did occur. Now, just to bring a bit of clarity into this whole understanding of Form 34s and Form 34Bs, what was envisioned in the electronic transmission of the data was that this data that we are receiving is verifiable via Form 34. Therefore, the integrity of the election rests on Form 34A, B, and C, and the physical ballot papers. That is where the predominant conversation will be. Now, just in terms of communications, it does make sense to play up the hacking and the non-tallying system. It does make sense because it does give NASA that sense of conversation and making the IEBC look bad. Now, the truth of the matter is, IEBC is... and I keep having problems with how they communicate. You see, the portal is your official website, okay? It is your official website. It is an extension of your communication arm. If it does not tally with the Form 34s on the ground, you create a basis for question, not in terms of law, because the law would stick to Form 34, but in the mind of the people, you are creating questions. Why isn't this tallying with what was there? Now, the truth of the matter will be proven again in the court of law. And I don't think that NASA will pursue the hacking issue as a preliminary argument. The preliminary argument has to be on the Form 34s and actual ballots that were cast.
You'll react to that shortly because we're getting an update from Mathare, I believe, where the Kenyan Red Cross will today distribute food to families that were affected by the post-election chaos that rocked Mathare and Kibera following the recently disputed presidential elections. Now, during the protest in which police have been accused of using excessive force on demonstrators, several vulnerable households were rendered food insecure and in dire need of food support. In Mathare, the distribution targets 3,000 people and will take place at Mathare Area 4 Chiefs Camp starting 9 a.m. today. In Kibera, 6,000 people will benefit from the first phase of distribution scheduled to take place at Olympic and Ayani Door Church as from 11:30 a.m. today. Now, just to tell us more